I never imagined that the people you open your heart to, the ones you treat as family, could one day treat you like a stranger. But life has a way of showing us truths we never wanted to see. The day my son Daniel married Claire, I thought my prayers had been answered. She was radiant, polite, and came from a family that seemed warm and welcoming. My husband had passed years before, so I cherished the idea of being part of a new extended family. Claire hugged me tightly on their wedding day and whispered, "Don't worry, you'll always be a mother to me too." I believed her. For years I helped them however I could. When they struggled with their first mortgage, I dipped into my savings. When their first child was born, I practically lived in their home for months, cooking, cleaning, rocking the baby at night so they could sleep. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because family means sacrifice, but family, I would learn, doesn't always mean loyalty. Everything changed when Claire's father died suddenly. He was a shrewd businessman, and everyone whispered about the size of his fortune. Still, I never imagined he had left her $25 million. At first, Claire tried to act humble about it. She told us it doesn't change anything. We're still the same. But the truth was, the inheritance changed everything. It changed the way she spoke, the way she looked at people, and worst of all, it changed the way she looked at me. She started making comments like, "We should live in a way that reflects our status." She talked about moving into a mansion, sending the children to private schools, traveling to Europe. I didn't begrudge her dreams. What broke my heart was how quickly she began to see me as an embarrassment. One evening, over dinner, she said it plainly. "Maybe it's time you moved out, Margaret. You've been living with us for too long. Daniel and I need our own space now." I froze. I had been staying in their guest room after a hip surgery, helping with the children while recovering. I wasn't a burden. I was contributing every single day. My son looked at his plate, silent. He didn't defend me. That silence cut deeper than her words ever could. Within weeks, I was packed up and moved into a small, run-down apartment on the edge of town. It wasn't much, just a single bedroom with peeling paint, but it was all I could afford. I remember sitting there on the first night, listening to the neighbors arguing through the thin walls, and wondering how everything had gone so wrong. Claire stopped calling. Daniel stopped visiting. Even the children who used to run into my arms were slowly pulled away from me. My heart ached with loneliness. I survived on the little pension I had left, stretching every dollar. Some nights, I cried myself to sleep, but hardship teaches resilience. I found a small church nearby, and the women there became my new family. I started cooking again, volunteering to feed the homeless on weekends. I taught knitting classes at the community center. Slowly, I built a new life, one rooted in kindness and simplicity. I had been discarded by the people I loved most, but I refused to let bitterness consume me. Then, nearly 3 years later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, I could hardly believe who stood there, Claire, but she looked nothing like the glamorous woman who once paraded her wealth. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes swollen from crying, and she was holding the hands of my 2 grandchildren. "Margaret," she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't know where else to go. As the story poured out of her, I sat in stunned silence. The inheritance, the $25 million she once flaunted, was gone. Poor investments, greedy advisors, reckless spending. It had all slipped through her fingers. Worse still, Daniel had left her for another woman, chasing after what little remained of the money. She was broke, abandoned, and terrified. And now she came crawling back to the woman she had once forced out. I wish I could tell you I slammed the door in her face. That's what some people would say she deserved. But as I looked into the tear-filled eyes of my grandchildren, my heart softened. They were innocent in all of this, and despite everything, Claire was still the mother of my son's children. I opened the door wide and said, "Come in." Over the next months, we rebuilt something fragile but real. Claire found work at a local school, humbly starting from the bottom. I cared for the children after classes, teaching them the value of love that isn't measured in dollars. Slowly, Claire began to change. She apologized, truly apologized, for the way she had treated me. not with words alone, but with actions, respecting me, listening, showing gratitude. Life came full circle. The woman who had once pushed me out of her home now found refuge in mine. And in that reversal, I learned one of the greatest lessons of all. Wealth can vanish, status can crumble, but the way we treat people, our kindness, our patience, our forgiveness, that is what endures. I don't tell this story for pity. I tell it because maybe someone listening right now has been betrayed, cast aside, or made to feel small. Maybe you've been overlooked by the very people you sacrificed for. If so, let my journey remind you, your worth is not defined by how others treat you, but by the love and dignity you carry within yourself. Claire lost her fortune, but I gained something far more precious. I gained proof that resilience outshines riches, and forgiveness holds more power than revenge. And today, when my grandchildren wrap their little arms around me and call me Grandma, I know, without a doubt, that I am richer than I ever imagined.